I'm Tabby. I make plushies and I also sell plush making supplies. If you're interested in either of those things, you can check out the links in the video description. Just spilled my weighted beads everywhere. Okay, anyway, now that that's cleaned up, weighted plushies are a great sensory comfort item in much the same way a weighted blanket is, and you can also sort of affect the balance of a stuffed animal by adding weight to it. For example, if you have one that's a little bit top heavy and kind of topples over when it's sitting, if you add some weight to the butt, that can give it a little bit more stability. So, there's a lot of reasons to want to add weight to a stuffed animal, and I'm going to show you how. You can also do this with any stuffed animal. You can do it with one that you're currently working on. You can do it with one you've already made. You can do it with one that you won from a claw machine, like Pickles here. So let's talk about what you're going to need. You'll want a hand sewing needle and thread. Make sure the thread at least like mostly matches the color of the plushie. I'm actually going to end up using this hot pink thread in the tutorial because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing, but I would use something like this if I wasn't recording this. You'll want a scissors. Something small like an embroidery scissors like this will be the most useful. You could probably use a craft scissors like this one since we're just cutting thread, but a smaller scissors or even a seam ripper will be better. You'll need your plushie, of course, and then you'll want some kind of weighted filling. And broadly speaking, weighted filling falls into one of two categories. You have your organic materials and you have your inorganic materials. And by organic, I just mean like it is plant matter, not like it isn't grown with pesticides, because that doesn't really matter. As far as organic material goes, I have some rice here for illustrative purposes. You could use rice, you could use buckwheat, you could use beans, you could use lentils, really any dry good that isn't like ground up like flour. Each of your options there is going to have a slightly different texture. Obviously, rice is a different shape from beans, so they will feel different in the plushie. The thing about organic material is that it's really good if you are intending to heat up the plushie, like in a microwave for like a heated, weighted sort of situation, but you cannot get it wet. Because what's it gonna do? It's gonna absorb the water and then it's gonna mold inside the plushie, and that is gross and you don't want that. So if you're working on something for a child who might like get it dirty and you intend to machine wash it, don't use organic material. What you want is an inorganic material, and here, for example, I have some poly pellets, which are just little plastic beads. Other options for inorganic materials include you have poly pellets, which are made of plastic, you have your glass beads, you have, you could use any kind of bead, really. It's just, if you use like fancy beads, it's gonna get pretty expensive. And that is all you need. You don't need a sewing machine for this project, you don't really need any fancy equipment, you just need these 3 or 4 things. Alright, step 1, you're going to need your plushie and your scissors. If you are doing this for a child and maybe adding some weight to their favorite plushie, maybe don't let them watch this part because we are going to do some surgery. Now, all plushies have a spot where they are hand sewn after being stuffed. That's just how stuffed animals are made. In this case, Mr. Pickles is right under his chin, and if I zoom in, I can show you how I know that. And it's a little bit hard to see because he's a very fluffy lad, but there's a knot where the hand sewing was tied off, and there are some visible stitches that are not machine stitches here. So this is where he was initially hand sewn up. If you can find a similar spot on your stuffed animal, or if it's one that you're making and so you don't need to find it, it's already open, then that's the best place to do this. You're gonna get in under just the stitching and just snip it free and pull gently. We don't want to rip the fabric at all. and we're gonna open up a hole that's about 2 or 3 inches wide. Now, I want to put some weight in Mr. Pickle's butt so that he can sit upright a little better, but I also want to put some weight in his hands to make his arms a little floppier. So I'm going to completely unstuff his arms. You don't need one of these, but a hemostat like this will make it much easier. Of course, if you're in the middle of making a stuffed animal and you want to add weight to it, you don't have to do this whole cutting open and unstuffing thing. You should just add the beads before you stuff it. So now we've unstuffed his tummy and his arms. And we're just going to take our poly pellets or whatever filling that you're using and stick them in. You can weigh these out on a scale ahead of time if you'd like. I am just kind of not eyeballing it, but going by feel, I suppose is the phrase. But if there's a specific weight that you want the plush to be, then obviously measure it out ahead of time so you're not just guessing. Kind of shake all the beads down to the bottom. And now that we've added the beads, you just want to put the stuffing back in. You might end up with a little bit of stuffing left over after fully stuffing this plushie again, and that is totally normal because you've added beads where that stuffing would have gone. I'm actually going to leave the arms a little bit unstuffed right here at the shoulder joint so that they're a little bit floppier. And now we can start sewing him back up. Go in from the inside here. And then go across on the other side. And then once again across on the other side. And again. And just keep repeating that until you've gone along the entire seam. This is called a ladder stitch, and it's a very useful stitch for plush making because it pulls both sides of the seam in together, and so you can't really see the stitching once it's finished. And you're just gonna keep pulling it tight as you go until you've sewn up this entire opening. Now you're just going to do one more stitch in place. Wrap the thread. I usually do 3 times around the needle and pull it taut. Or whatever your preferred way to knot thread is. If you have a preference, don't let me tell you you're wrong. This is just how I do it. Trim it up. Mr. Pickles is now a hearty, weighty lad. You can see his arms are much floppier now, and he sits very sturdily. I hope this was a useful tutorial for you. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment and, I don't know, all of those things you're supposed to do on YouTube. Say bye, Mr. Pickles. Bye!